Oh, folks. I know y'all have been waiting for that. Yeah, it's it's been an interesting couple of weeks here. Now I know I uploaded a video last week, and this was on the Scott Peterson case, and I know I'm gonna hear a lot of shit from people that I'm just jumping on the bandwagon. And you know what, guys? Maybe. But you know what? I don't feel the need to defend myself for shit. You either watch my shit or you don't. I don't care. But since this whole thing came out, and you know what? I'm gonna just full disclosure. I actually have believed this whole time that Scott Peterson was guilty. And to be quite honest, at this point, I'm not even sure if he is or he isn't, to be quite honest. I don't know. I don't profess to know. I wasn't there. You know, much like what I used to say in the Stephen Avery case, I don't know if he's guilty or not guilty. His guilt or innocence is immaterial at this point. The fact that I'm concerned with is the dirty motherfucking investigation and the dirty ass fucking case run by the state. That's what gets my hackles up. That's what pisses me off. And I've been saying this to people on Twitter and Facebook. I'm sorry, it's a little wobbly. I've been saying this to people on Twitter and Facebook because he's guilty. He's guilty. He could be, for all I fucking know. He could be. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry, mama called. Anyways, I've been saying this to people on Twitter and Facebook and, a couple of other places. I don't know if Scott is guilty. I don't know, to be quite honest. But I will say this about that. I'm actually tempted to write a book with that as the title. Let me just say this about that. If we allow law enforcement and the government to run dirty investigations just because of one time that they may or may not have gotten it right, it's just opening the floodgates. Okay, we must hold them to proper ethical and moral and professional standards at all times, regardless of whether or not they got it right. Do you understand? Okay, so having said that, I've been thinking, lots of stuff coming into my brain. And I've been thinking about the parallels between the Scott Peterson case, the David Thorne case, the Stephen Avery case, the Scott Davis case. I've been thinking about all of that. There's a lot of little things that have kind of got my hackles up. And I wanted to address that with you guys here tonight. There's also a little bit in the autopsy reports I wanted to talk to you guys about. So now, mind you, for whatever reason, the trial transcripts are released. We can see them. They're online, and I'll provide a link down below in the description for you. But the investigation file isn't. Listen, kids, that investigation file needs to be released. I don't know, and I would love to do this myself, but I'm so wary of starting any kind of a fundraising campaign to do stuff like that because a lot of the assholes from my former Stephen Avery days had this big to-do about I was only in it for the money. Yeah, because we can all see I'm living in the lap of fucking luxury now. And I don't want to possibly taint the ability to collect those funds to get that case file because of who I am. So somebody else needs to do that. Hold on 1 second. So if anybody wants to do that, that would be great. So here are the parallels that I'm seeing. All right, we've got a parallel here between the Lacey Peterson disappearance and the Teresa Halbach disappearance. Let's go through it. If you pay attention, there was never any missing persons investigation protocol put into place in either the Laci Peterson disappearance or the Teresa Halbach disappearance. None. None. They ran that shit like a fucking murder investigation from day one. Day one. Okay? That fucking detective, I can't remember his name, starts with a B, something Italian. And don't climb up my ass about that, my husband's Italian, so. That fucking detective went into Scott's house, and he wasn't looking for signs of struggle or, you know, her purse or her keys. In fact, I have yet to hear any mention of her purse, her keys, her cell phone, her money. Nothing. Nothing. Not a fucking mention anywhere in the trial transcripts that I've read so far. Now, mind you, I haven't read the whole thing. It's a lot. But so far, I have not heard a mention of her purse, her keys, her cell phone, nothing. Not a fucking word. Instead, this detective decides to search their cars. And he goes into Scott's car and he opens the glove box, and without any evidentiary collection protocol motherfucking ever, he finds a gun in the glove box and pockets it. He sticks it in his fucking pocket. And then when it tests back that it's never been fired, he's like, oh, here we go. What? Oh, God. It's another shit show. The fucking Keystone Cops are alive and well in Modesto. Okay, so there's that. There's point number one. No fucking evidentiary collection protocol motherfucking ever, and yet they just let this slide? Jesus Christ. So, the fact that they were even looking in Scott's car like that. A truck, which, by the way, was at the marina at the time of Laci's disappearance. So how the fuck? He had the ticket. He had eyewitnesses. He had the parking ticket, for fuck's sake. That he was there. So why are they looking in his fucking car in the first goddamn place? They're not looking for Laci. They're looking for evidence of murder. Okay? That's point number one. Point number two. Dozens. Okay, maybe not dozens, but several eyewitnesses come forward and they say that they saw Laci on the day of her disappearance walking her dog, Mackenzie. Apparently, Mackenzie is a golden retriever? I don't fucking know. I don't know dogs. I don't know shit about dogs. I barely know anything about cats. Not a dog. No, I'm a dog person. I like dogs. I do. I just don't have the capability of training them, so I just don't own a dog. That's how I work that one. So she's seen by several witnesses on a route on what ends up being her typical route for walking the dog, wearing black pants, a white top, and white sneakers. But when her body is found, she is found in a bra, a pair of panties, and tan shorts. Tan shorts. That's a little weird. That's a little odd. Qua? Now, see, I seem to recall, and I said this in the previous video, I seem to recall that at the time the trial and everything was going on. Now, mind you, I wasn't paying much attention at the time. You know, I was a little busy trying to work and go to school and take care of 2 kids. At the time that all of this was going on, from what I was able to glean, Modesto police claimed that she was found with duct tape on her crotch so as to keep the baby in. Now there's no mention of fucking duct tape anywhere, but I distinctly recall that. Now, according to Modesto police, Scott killed her in their home the night before Christmas Eve. Okay. Except for one minor problem, guys. No blood. No blood. And no bodily waste was found at the scene. Here's the thing, kids. For all of you in the back that haven't been paying attention all this time, a pregnant woman has a fetus sitting on top of her fucking bladder. Okay? Any kind of a severe shock to a pregnant woman can and will cause her to go into early labor. It's a fucking fact. There's a video online, I don't know if anybody's seen it, I've seen it, and I've laughed my ass off, of this woman who's very obviously very pregnant, ready to pop, much like Lacey Peterson. And her son, her little 7-8-year-old son, jumps out at her with a scary mask on and scares her, startles her so bad that her water breaks. Okay? So that's just one instance. That's just, that's not, because the prosecution tried to say that he smothered her. Are you telling me that this 150-pound woman went very gently into that good night? I think fucking not. She would have fought, which means that she would have been in shock. Never mind the shock of fucking dying. She's also got the shock of her husband, the man she loves, the father of her child, hurting her. She would have gone fucking ballistic. And you're telling me that there's no blood? That was their fucking sloppy ass, half-ass explanation on that one? No blood because he smothered her? No, I'm sorry. She would have gone into preterm labor. Her water would have broken. There would have been blood from the birth canal at the very least. Number one. Now, number two. And again, links below. You know me. Number two is Connor's autopsy. Now, this is not the actual autopsy report. Again, I don't have access to that. Nobody does. I find that to be very interesting and a situation that needs to be remedied. If anybody would care to take up Skip Top's mantle and get those records, that'd be great. I will fucking donate. Like crazy. I will donate. So here's the thing. Dr. Brian Peterson, let's get our handy dandy glasses. Our scratch to shit glasses. Dr. Brian Peterson, the medical examiner who performed Connor's autopsy, is a forensic pathologist employed by the Forensic Medical Group in Fairfield. I will be running this motherfucker's curriculum vitae, AQAP, just so you know. History. The history provided to Peterson was that of a body found on the shore. Peterson did not know this was Connor, and the female body had not yet been found. Consequently, the typical forensic pathology question in this type of case is this a stillborn baby or a live-born baby? Initially, then, Peterson was not concerned with explaining Connor's state of decomp compared to Lacey's because Lacey wasn't yet known about. Get this shit. This shit's really weird. External exam. There was some material associated with the body, particularly some clear plastic tape. 1.5 loops of plastic tape around the neck of the fetus with a knot near the left shoulder. Now, on this same link, you'll see a courtroom artist's rendering of this picture. It was like looped under his arm, and there was a bow. There was a fucking bow tied in this tape. The skin beneath the tape was not injured. Not injured? How is the skin beneath some tightly wrapped and tied packing tape not injured on an infant who has supposedly been floating around in the fucking ocean for days or even weeks on end? I mean, even just like some post-mortem abrasion. Come on. This is fucking forensics 101. Jesus. There was approximately a 2-centimeter gap between the neck and the tape when pulling the tape, so it was firm against one side of the neck. 2 centimeters. Actually, it would be like that. 2 centimeters. See, kids, this is how you know what 2 centimeters is. That's how they test to see how dilated a woman is when she's in labor, is 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 4 centimeters. You see? 2 centimeters between the tape. Peterson concluded the association between the body and the tape was coincidental. The tape had simply ended up on the body. Really, Peterson? Really? It just showed up. It just poofed out of fucking nowhere onto this child's neck. That's your explanation. Where the fuck did you get your degree? A Cracker Jack box? No, it doesn't wind up looped around his fucking neck and under his arm with a bow by accident in the ocean. It just doesn't happen. There was also some material over the left ear adhering it to the head, which Peterson believed to be kelp or other vegetative material. However, when it was removed, the ear remained folded over and there was a purple discoloration on Connor, which Peterson said is more consistent with the iodine in kelp than with bruising. More consistent with the iodine in kelp than with bruising. And it never fucking occurred to you to open up that ear and see if it was a bruise, because do you know what causes bruising, kids? I'm sure some of you do, but for the asshole in the back licking the window, let's cover it anyway. Bruising is caused by taking a hard enough hit to the surface of the skin so that the capillaries, which are extremely small blood vessels, to burst, causing the blood to flow out and discoloration of the skin. So if you open it up, you'll see a pooling of blood. But no, that would be doing your job the right way, wouldn't it, Peterson? You fucking moron. Jesus Christ. Light me smoke. Yes, I know. I had taken to vaping for a while. But then I decided, why fuck with a classic? I mean, it's a lot easier for me when I'm writing to do this than to vape. Plus, you put those things together, if they're put together wrong, they don't fire. Fuck that. Just give me a good old-fashioned smoke. You can't beat a classic. Based on the measurements of the fetus, Connor would have reached full term. Full term. Lacey Peterson went missing when she was 8 months pregnant. Not 9. And sure as fuck not 10. Because, again, for the asshole in the back licking the window, pregnancy actually lasts 40 weeks. So that's 10 months, not 9. And the fetus reached full term. The skin was quite soft in keeping with maceration. An effect on tissue soaking in fluid. Okay. No vernix on the body. Okay, for those of you who don't know, the vernix is it's like like a cream cheesy kind of substance that builds up on the baby's skin when they're in the panzona, in the belly, to protect their skin from the amniotic fluid. And as they mature, as they grow, when they get closer to birth, it all sloughs off. And the baby actually swallows it, and that's what causes meconium, baby's first poop, which anybody who's ever been a parent knows is like fucking tar. So No vernix on the skin. Well, according to the narrative, he was floating around in some seawater for quite some time, so I could expect there to be no vernix on his skin, because that shit's abrasive as hell. Alright. The bones in the skull were overriding, which happens as the brain liquefies. Okay. There was a tear near the right shoulder that exposed skeletal muscle and the structures beneath. The tear extended into the abdominal wall, and portions of the small and large intestines protruded from the tear. There was no scalloping, no curved marks around the edges, which would have been consistent with a slice, a laceration. Concluded it was simply from tissue falling apart or being pulled apart due to tidal action. And that seems to be a running theme in the Peterson case. Tidal action. Tidal action is blamed for everything. Did you know that Lacey Peterson was found with none of her internal organs except for her uterus? None. None. There was a laceration. There was a tear in the top part of her abdomen. And that's how they theorized that baby Connor got out, was this tear. But none of her internal organs? Really? But that was explained by tidal action. The tidal action of the bay is what caused her to lose all of her internal organs. Sorry, but I find that extremely difficult to believe. A portion of the colon protruded from the anus. There was a portion of the umbilical cord present, measuring a ½ centimeter, less than a ¼ inch, and the edge was ragged, like it fell apart or pulled apart. It was not cut. Okay, I can buy that. I can definitely buy that. Estimated gestational age, 9 months. Live birth, Peterson could not rule out a live birth. Get this, though. This is weird. Plastic bag found near Connor. Under cross, Peterson was asked if Connor had been placed in a bag and the tape was around the neck, having been looped around once and knotted so that once placed in the water, the baby would have been in a protected environment. If that was consistent with Connor's decomp and the tape around his neck. Admitted it was possible that Connor's body was protected in some other way, but did not consider it likely. Peterson was not aware of the plastic bag found near Connor when he did the autopsy. Peterson wasn't aware of a lot. This is what gets me, though. Float test not performed. Now, the float test is what's used, or it was used. It's not used very much anymore. The float test is what was used to determine if a baby was born alive or dead. So what they'll do is they'll take the baby and place him in a tank of water. And if he floats, it means that he has taken his first breath and his lungs have expanded with air. If he sinks, it's because the lungs are heavy because they're still collapsed and filled with amniotic fluid. So he'll sink. But a float test was not performed in Connor's case. Okay, I can understand why you wouldn't want to perform a float test. I mean, there's a lot of things wrong with it. But in that case, why didn't you just crack open the sternum and check the lungs? I mean, you're performing an autopsy. You're trying to determine how this child died. Wouldn't it be prudent to open him up and find out for sure? Because, I don't know, that could possibly lead to the fucking killer. Now, again, kids, as I've said, I have no fucking clue if Scott Peterson is guilty or not. I don't know, and I don't fucking care. What I do know is that this case was so botched that it calls everything into question. And again, if we let it slide once, it's gonna keep fucking happening. Okay? So, that's what I have to say on that one. Now, I have this to say about that fucking jury. Because I know y'all have been watching the A&E special. This case is the poster child for why you want professional juries. These people, these 12 people, have no experience in criminology, no experience in forensics, no experience in any of this shit. Now, back in the day, when our forefathers decided on 12 jurors laying true, it made sense because back in those days, they relied on people telling the truth. You know, there was very little forensic anything back then. You know, so finding an interpretation of the truth is difficult in those situations. And you want somebody, you want a lay person. What bothers me is that fucking Italian mob wannabe fuckhead. Again, don't remember his name. Juror 2, 3, 5, 7, I don't fucking know. Deciding before he even got in the fucking courtroom that Scott was guilty, and goddamn it, he was gonna fucking argue it whether it came to blows or not. Then that other fat fuckhead who looks an awful lot like Wilbur, threatening the other juror, the foreman. And then you bring in Miss Strawberry fucking Shortcake, this twat, who is sitting there and she's like, well, you know, I couldn't get past the dog picking up Lacey's scent, blah, 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 blah. The dog didn't pick up the scent. That dog's certification was denied because he kept fucking up. Him and his handler were screwed. And you're telling me that that's what you based your decision on? The whole basis of our entire judicial system is the presumption of innocence, and not a single fucking one of you assholes that actually ended up deciding this man's fate had any presumption of innocence. None. And that therein is where the problem lies. I'm telling you, kids, the sooner we move to professional juries, people that are trained in the interpretation of this evidence, people who are trained in understanding how the system works, the better this shit's all going to be. I'm just saying. Prostitution and juries, those are the two professions, the most important professions that do not have training. I'm just saying. There's something wrong here, kids. And this shit of threatening a juror who doesn't believe that he has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. He was convicted based off of his affair with Amber. That bitch. And yes, okay, it was fucking scuzzy as hell carrying on an affair with somebody while your wife is pregnant. That's scuzzy as fuck. But that does not make him a murderer. And that sure as hell has absolutely no bearing. Oh, well, it was motive. Not really. I mean, we've got family testimony. We've got friend testimony stating that while Lacey was pregnant, he was only too happy to sit there and rub her belly, and they were planning this beautiful nursery for the baby and all that other stuff. And yet, they're saying that he didn't want to be a father and he didn't want to be a husband anymore. That doesn't make any sense. This is the other thing that gets me. We know that Scott went to his warehouse. We know because he logged into his computer and he sent emails and there was a bunch of other shit. And yet, on the home computer, after he had left, there was a search done on an umbrella stand with sunflowers on it. Who the fuck else would have done that but Lacey? I'm just saying, you know, that's reasonable doubt that you're feeling there, folks. That's reasonable doubt. That's what that is. And this shit with the 5 anchors, the 5 concrete anchors. Pixar, it didn't happen. They never proved that those 5 anchors were even manufactured. That was a theory on the part of the prosecution, on the part of the fucking detectives. There was no proof that that ever happened. No proof. None. And not only that, but what jackass fucking ties anchors around the softest parts of the body to anchor a fucking body down in the San Francisco Bay? A layperson isn't going to do that. They're going to anchor it around the chest or around the main torso. They're not going to fucking put it on the most obvious places that are going to decomp and tear away. Duh. Now, my theory is this. Now, mind you, this is a working theory. This is speculation on my part. But I personally feel that Connor and Lacey never, ever touched the water itself. I think they were placed on that beach. The placement is just too perfect. It's too perfect. They were found on some rocks. And if you really pay attention to how water ebbs and flows over rocks like that, something, the moon, the stars, Uranus had to align just right for that to even be a possibility, for them to get caught up on those rocks. I think they were placed there. And the salt water sprayed over them for a time period. But somebody vomited in the petunias. Something doesn't smell right here. Either way around it, like I've said, I don't know if Scott's guilty. I don't know if he's innocent. What I do know is this was a bunk motherfucking case. That's what I have for you tonight, folks. All right, so don't forget to subscribe to me here on YouTube. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Mama Phoenix 6. And if you boogie on over to my About page here on my channel, you'll find everything from my Pinterest boards to my Facebook fan page. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you soon.